Can you find the range for both those data sets and tell which one has a bigger range? Okay. So the range is how far these are from each other. So the maximum of 22 minus 1 is a range of 21. And, okay.
Yeah, we created.
Huh?
Remember yesterday? Vision,
What? You're just comparing these two distributions.
what?
Okay. You're supposed to be talking with them.
I had to look at this.
What's the issue? When does that happen? Compare the data displayed in your Boxplots plots. So write analysis. What are the 4 things that we're supposed to compare? Center, usual aspects, shape, and spread. So what would be the center of those data sets? You would say that the median for Greenville is 12, whereas for Oaktown, that's comparing your measures of center. You alive over there, Kyle? Kyla, I am privileged, you just assumed. You good? You involved in the conversation? Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you didn't even see me.
Hey, Leslie, thank you. Okay, so really quickly, 2 things I want to point out is this. Does anyone know the one thing that we have all actually forgotten to put on this graph? The label for the graph? Have we done that at all yet?
No.
Okay, so there's 2 different things that you would want to label. Anyone know what the 2 things are? You need the title, and what else? And you need to talk about the cities. So, what city is this one, the blue? Oaktown, so I would probably write Oaktown to the side. What's the purple? Greenville. But what are we graphing in respect to both of those? The lead in the drinking water, right? We're still graphing about the lead in the drinking water. So, lead, concentration in water. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Oh, Maddie's talking. Say it again. I can't hear you. Yes, you can also put it above. It's traditional to put it under the axis, but I know that they did not make that axis. They didn't give you enough space. Yep. So yes, you could put lead. Say again. Because we got a box, and it's like the whiskers of a cat. I wish it was more than that, but that's literally what it is. You got a box and whiskers like a cat. I mean, do they stick out though, like a cat's whiskers do? Up and down. This is the whisker. That's the whisker. Lead concentration. And Jay, get it together. Alright. So, once again, we want to compare what 4 things? Center. Unusual
Shape.
aspects, the shape, and the spread. Alright, I want you to get involved in this conversation. Raise your hand, especially if you haven't been involved in the conversation. How would I compare for number 2 those measures of center? Alright, looks like Lillian wants to get involved. Ethan, is your hand up? Okay, how would I compare the measures of center?
What's kind of a bit shorter than the other one?
The measure of center is shorter than the other one. Okay, I want to pause and I want to ask this. Anybody want to take a stab in the dark what Ethan's referring to when he says that one's shorter than the other? Okay, so the boxes meaning the what? I don't think he's talking about the median. It's my guess at least. What is shorter? Say it, Lillian. The spread. Are you talking about the spread like this is shorter than this, Ethan? Yep. That's the spread, how spread out it is. Where do I find the measures of center, though? In the middle, at the median. Notice we can easily see our medians right here. Which one has a greater median? Greenville. Okay, so that's what you would want to say. You want to directly compare those. You would say Greenville has a greater, and keep your context, lead concentration at 12 parts per billion than Oakville. That didn't sound like that phone was in the cell phone caddy, and I know that's not true. No one would dare in my class. If that was a watch, you better silence that watch. Okay. So Greenville has a greater lead concentration at 12 parts per billion than Oakville at 8. That's comparing the centers of those distributions. Say it a little bit louder. No, whole class discussion at this point. Yeah, you always supposed to have already talked about all these things.
Okay, the range for Greenville is 21, while the range for Oaktown is 13.
So range for Greenville is 21, Oaktown is what?
13.
13. Does anybody want to push back on that at all?
No.
Say again. What I right? What is it? Oh, it's Oaktown? My bad.
It's Oaktown.
I didn't even wrote, oh, because it's Greenville. Gotcha. That's what it was. Oaktown, thank you. Okay, so the range is 21 versus 13, but more importantly, that means which one is greater?
Greenville.
All right, so we want to also include that Greenville also has a larger range. Of 21 parts per billion versus Oaktown at, what was it, 13?
Yeah.
There's my range. What about the shape, Maddie? Oh, you want to say something else? What did you want to say?
Greenville data is roughly symmetrical within Oaktown.
That's the shape.
Oh, never mind.
Greenville is roughly what?
Roughly symmetrical.
And even, I will say, look at Oaktown. I mean, if I look there and I look at both sides, are both sides about the same length? I mean, 2 to 8 is how far? Right? 2 to 8 is 6. And then it goes 8 to 15, which is 7. Are those about the same?
Yeah.
Yup. So are they roughly symmetrical? Yup. It doesn't have to be perfect, guys, but it's roughly symmetrical. So both distributions, no, are roughly Symmetrical. Alright. Hello? Yes, yeah, I have them. I just haven't put it in, sorry. Yep.
No.
What are your questions at this point? No questions? So again, I want y'all to notice, right? One, actually I do want to point this out. What might be even easier than a histogram? What's this called? Box and whisker plot. What's the only thing you have to know for the box and whisker plot?
Minimum, median, and maximum.
Median, the Q1.
The minimum, Q1, median, Q3, maximum. That's all you have to know for a box and whisker plot. And you can really easily see some measures of spread, things like that. Okay, so some of y'all were already freaking out about the talk. You shouldn't have been though. The question, Ezra, I need you to focus, okay? The question here on talk, this is the very next page, is just, hey, what's going to be better? Dots, which would go with what kind of graph? A dot plot, or bins, which would be our histograms, or boxes, which would be our box plot. So I'm going to do a couple of these with you. Number one, Nick collects data about the 100 tallest buildings in the U.S. He wants to quickly determine which two heights the top 25% of the data fall in. Do you think the dot plot, a histogram, or a box plot would be best here? Okay, here histogram from a couple people. I hear a couple people box and whisker plot. Okay, so now we need to start sharing. So no one thinks dot plot for this one. Okay, so let's start sharing some reasons. Coda, why are you thinking histogram?
Because he's collecting that about the 100 solid building, and if you use a dot plot, you have to plot 100 dots.
All right, so a dot plot's out because 100 is way too many dots. Okay, so why are you thinking histogram though over box and whisker plot like they're thinking?
Because you don't know the maximum. All you know the maximum is 100. You don't know the Q3 or Q1.
Okay, we don't know Q3 or Q1. Okay, so Barry Lee, why don't you start us off? Why were you saying box plot?
He wants to figure out the top 25% instead of like all of the data at once.
So he wants to focus on a quarter, so the quartile may be the idea? Coda, what do you think about that? Does that kind of maybe make sense? So be careful, because I think what you were getting distracted by is we don't have the quartiles, we don't have the maximum. That's not the question. The question is, hey, if he wants to be able to easily tell, right, the top 25%, what that set is, what's best for that? Box and whisker plot.
Wouldn't you use the quartile to be able to figure out the first one?
Well, wouldn't I need the data itself to even be able to make a histogram?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not about actually having the data, it's just based on what you want to find, if you have the data, what would be best? If we're looking at 25% or quarters, a box and whisker plot is the way to get them. Does that make sense? Right, so box and whisker plot. We want to look at quartiles. We want to look at top 25%. A box and whisker plot would be easiest to help you see that top 25%. Okay, 2 is the last one I'm going to do with y'all, and then I want you to finish the rest of this in your small groups. Number 2 says Lily conducted a school survey to determine how many problems each math teacher assigned for homework on Friday. Dot plot, histogram, or box plot? Why dot plot?
Because I would hope it would be 0.
Well, I mean, you can't just hope things.
It's I think it depends on how many teachers.
Oh, why do you say it depends on how many teachers?
Because it depends on how many teachers, that's
Yeah, so at Hillcrest High School, we have 11 math teachers. If we have 11 math teachers, do you want to use a dot plot, histogram, or box plot?
Histogram.
It's only 11 teachers.
It's only 11 teachers. Could you do 11 dots pretty easily?
Yeah.
And you might be able to see that data a little bit more accurately. So remember, a dot plot, you can see those individual data points. You just don't want to do it if you have a whole lot of dots. But 11 dots? Sure, dot plot, right?
Unless you're too lazy.
I would think 11 dots would be easier than having to do the X and Y axis for a histogram and then drawing those boxes. That's just me though. That dot plot over there took no time whatsoever. This one over here. The one.
There's 2 of them.
There's technically 8 of them, 4 on each, but none of them took long. But dot plot, right? Not many data points. All right. Oh, and then I want y'all to start looking at what conclusions can you draw. So, finish up 3 and 4. Work on 5 through 7 in your small groups. You are allowed to talk with each other, and you will have better responses when you talk with each other. Let's get to work.
History.
They're comparing
Okay. School district wants to determine how many students in the entire district score above 70 extended
Jaden, you're not even remotely trying to talk about math. I need your group to get back on track. You got 7 questions.
like
Huh?
watching this, 70 would be the mean number. That could be. My winner would be like massive. Would be minimal. It's like
Alright, we got a good solid 5 minutes left. The best 5 minutes of the day.
because comparing it to whatever grade.
I would assume that it's a lot of white here. Especially if it's all Montana. Boston whisker block. You can. What else though could you use to compare data sets? Not a bar graph.
I'll say because 7
What's the other name? What's the name for this?
median. You know what I mean? Comparing the rest of the school. Or like 50 would be minimum, 100 would be math.
I'm focusing on collaboration each day. That's what's working right now. particularly Boston Whisker Plot. What if we it's easier to compare two different distributions on the previous page?
Done.
I like we come down to histogram.
So this Boston Whisker Plot works well to compare two different things?
It was. And I like
If you look at an entire school district, how many students are there? That's a lot of people, isn't it? That's a lot of people. You gonna do that many dots? I wouldn't want to do all the dots for the people at Hillcrest High School, much less the whole district. That's something I would think about. Yes, ma'am. For which one? Let's talk about it. I like the conversation. Let's talk about it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I've seen consistently a lot of people, a lot of groups are thinking what for number 3? I heard histogram maybe, box and whisker plot. What I will say is this. A histogram would work well for both distributions. But, Jaden, for anyone else who is thinking histogram, you see how we're trying to compare white deer to mule deer? What did we do on what did we use on the previous page to compare those two cities? What type of graph? Box and whisker plots. When we're trying to compare, it's easier to use box and whisker plots. Does that make sense? So I would have said box and whisker plots here because it's easier to compare. Right here, a school district wanted to determine how many students in the entire district scored above 70 on a standardized test. What are y'all thinking? Histogram? Okay, Maddie? Excuse me, Maddie, I hear you partially, but I hear other people talking over you, and that's rude.
Good afternoon.
Okay, last thing I would say is this. A box and whisker plot is only going to show you percentages. If I want to know how many, I don't want the percentages or the quartiles. I want a histogram here. Okay? Hey, listen to me really quickly on this. Your homework is supposed to be due tomorrow. Instead, do these 3 things for me tonight, and I'll let your homework be due on Thursday. Yes, you have homework. You haven't had a single homework assignment for you all year. Get over it. Okay, what is math? Yeah, defining math. It's okay. Guys, so what are you turning in tomorrow? These 3 problems, that's it. Okay, so this is not the stuff you're working on, just this now.
I was just confused on
I know, but I need to clarify, this is the homework. Y'all, I would take a picture that this is your homework.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you got y'all take a picture, please. Take a picture. What? Someone. I don't know what you're saying. I'm trying to think. A bag? Yes, I know. No, it's one of my other students. Yeah, I understand. She left already, that's all I know.
And
So, Luke,
Wait for me,
let me
please.
make sure. I should bring this down. Mollie. Molly. Vaughn. What is that? Kanel?
yeah, 6198.
Sooner or later,
Alright. Hey Joey, I have to, thanks for picking up, I have to go down to afternoon duty though, so chill in room 400 really quickly for me,
And
okay?
also,
I'm just turning all
gave me
these
the note
out.
because they give it to Sarah to give to me.
Huh?
She said she was a tell me.
What's his last name? Yeah, I mean, it was this class only. What's his last name? I don't think so. First name?
Blake.
No, I don't have a Blake Estes.
Okay.
Huh?
I just want to see, I'm not going to hear the irritation.
Oh, sure. Peyton, I don't have anybody grumble as much as you did, bro.
It was just irritating.
You were irritating. So boom, roasted, got
I
him.
mean, you're not wrong.
Got him.
That's it.
Thanks for letting me keep my bag in there.
No problem. Are you just wearing pajama pants around?
Yes.
Does your mom know that?
Yes.
Okay.
I was wearing them yesterday.